It's Friday. I'm Jay Fidell. This is ThinkTech. We're talking about community matters because it does. And we have Jeff Sulzbach, who's the CEO of the Boy Scouts of Hawaii, and Kimi Takaaz, who's Director of Development and Marketing at the Boy Scouts of Hawaii. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you. I
Glad to
love
be
the
here.
Boy Scouts. In my early life, I was a camper, and went to summer camp every year. And near our camp, which was it was a nonprofit camp in the Borscht Circuit in New York State. There was something called 3 Mile River. I think it was a 10-mile river.
10-mile river scout
10 Mile
camp,
River
right?
Scout camp.
Yes, yeah.
And that was the mecca.
Yeah.
That was where all the big action happened. There were so many. It was great. It was a great. We used to visit.
Yeah. So that was the Greater New York City Boy Scout Council's camp.
Yes.
Still there today.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Still a mecca of scouting in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
northeast part of the country.
Scouting
That's
is clearly part of the firmament of this country. It's not just a nonprofit. It's not just educational for boys and girls. Wow.
Yeah.
It's come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is part of the firmament of our nation. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about this in advance, but
No, we
that's how I
haven't.
feel. I'd like you to respond to that and tell me how you feel about my statement to that effect.
But I believe it's part of the American experience. It's part of being an American, and for boys and girls and our high school age groups, it's part of what it means to be an American. And we teach kids that every day. It's part of being a citizen in the country. I should maybe share that our members start in first grade, the boys, and they go all the way up through middle school in boys only program, and then upper middle school and high school is boys and girls in two programs we call venturing and exploring. So that's our two co-ed programs. Our sisters are in the Girl Scouts at the younger ages, and a very
Separate organization.
Separate organization from the Boy Scouts of America, but a great organization, and they do great work with the girls at that age as well.
Okay, well, I want to learn it all. I want to know everything
Yeah.
about everything, how it works. But first, let's find out about you, Jeff. How did you get into the Boy Scouts?
Well, I was a Cub Scout,
Is that right?
8 years old,
Yeah.
in a little town, Shoreview, Minnesota. And that's where I
Wait,
grew up.
This whole deal here, this whole ThinkTech is built around Minnesota. When we find somebody from Minnesota, we go crazy.
Oh, really?
Really?
Shuri Bender, who is actually producing this show right now, is from Minnesota.
I heard her scream over there
That's
through
right.
the wall.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
That's
Minnesota.
great. That's
Kimi,
great.
I hope you're from Minnesota too.
Nope.
Okay.
New York
So,
City.
so Zuri's from Minnesota. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Fellow Gophers. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So that's good.
So more about the Cub Scouts.
Yeah, so I grew up in Minnesota, did all my scouting there, and when I was in high school and college, I worked on a summer camp staff, and I thought, wow, what a great way to spend your summers, and somebody said, you could spend your whole life doing this. And so it's been 24 years now
Is that
as
right?
a member of the Boy Scout
You
professional
don't look
staff.
too much more than 24.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is a friendly place to come.
I know. Told
Yes. So it's been a great career, and great way to help other people, while also doing something I'm very passionate about and believe in.
Well, I understand that because the camp that I was at near the 10 Mile River was the same kind of approach, and it left such a huge impression on me. And my brother, who also attended, and all the people we know that attended. It was really formative, and which was, it was a social work camp. In those days, social work was, I guess, all over New York. New York was all about social work.
Okay.
But, I guess I'd like to take a moment, would come to you in a minute, okay? I'd like to take a moment just to examine this whole thing about what you do for kids, and when you have done that for kids, how it affects them as, citizens of the country.
Yeah. When people think about Boy Scouts, they think about camping. That's, I think one of the icons of Boy Scouting is camping. Camping is actually just a tool for us. It's just a method. We call it our method to actually deliver leadership skills, citizenship training, help people learn how to work together with one another. And all that happens probably no place better than in the outdoors, where you have a group of young people who have to learn how to come together to provide shelter, food, friendship, camaraderie, overcome adversities. That's what it's all about. And that's how we do it kind of day in and day out. We do it in a lot of other ways besides camping, but camping's where we're probably most known for doing that.
One more thought, and that is, we study the science fair here. And
Right.
it's the Academy of Science, there are, 7,000 kids involved statewide. It's a big deal. And the principal mission, seems to me, when you shake it and bake it, is to give them confidence.
Yeah.
This is outside the home. This is a peer group that is not their parents or cousins or whatever. this is them alone, and they are learning to explain themselves, defend themselves with strangers, to think alone, and ultimately to have confidence. And it changes their lives.
That's right.
And I suspect the same process is working with you guys.
Yeah, we change lives every day, and it's through building young people into becoming, adults who've got that confidence, the sense that they can actually do it and do it on their own. Yesterday, I was over in Kona visiting with some scout leaders over there, and a mother pulled me aside. She said, "My son's almost Eagle Scout, and he wants me to drop off his papers to get, the final step." And she said, I told him no. I said, "You've come this far on your own, finish it yourself." And she made him drive down and drop it off. And he said, "But Mom, I've got play practice. I don't have time for this." And she said, "You'll have to figure that out." And so that's part of teaching.
great.
What a great mom, by the way.
Yeah.
Say,
Really,
"I'm not going to do this
really,
for you.
yeah.
You've come all this way on your own. Now the last step is for you to figure out how do you juggle your schedule. You got play practice after school. You got to drop off your Eagle Scout paperwork. How are you going to make that work? What do you have to talk to your play director about, your theater director?" And he got it done. He made it
And
happen.
he's lucky to have a mother like that. But I was going to say also that in a time when so many families are latchkey, when parents are overwhelmed by having multiple jobs and all kinds of obligations outside the family where they're stressed, then this is kind of an extended family. This becomes more important than even before.
We tell our
Am I
scout,
right?
yeah, we tell our scout leaders that they should be that trusted adult that a boy or a young woman can come to and say, "I need to talk to you about something. I need help. And there's nobody else I can come to who I trust as much as I might trust you to do that." And so for a young person, it is a real safe haven for them to have those people there who care about them, who will take care of them no matter what. And that's part of what scouting teaches our adults.
It's huge.
We're really fortunate in the Aloha Council. We have over 4,000 adult leaders, volunteers who volunteer on average 22 hours a month to be an adult leader. So a lot of time they put into it. They're very passionate. They care about it. And they care about the kids, the young people that they're working with.
Yeah, that's the big reward.
Yeah,
To work with kids is really special in any context, especially this.
that's right.
Because you're seeing, the Carta Blanca. You're seeing them by themselves.
That's right.
So let's turn to development and marketing. It's like, in ThinkTech, we have 3 committees. We have the inside committee,
Yeah.
we have the outside committee, and we have the way outside committee.
Okay.
And it's all sort of a reference point. So I guess you're the outside committee.
Yes,
Yeah,
yep,
Tell
I
us
am.
about how that works.
Anyway, I just actually just started working here at Aloha Council a little while ago, but I've been involved in scouting for probably the last, probably 6 years, because I was a den leader. I'd
Okay.
take off
That's
my,
great.
my heels and put on shoes, and I actually went camping. So I was a den leader for my older son, Neo, and my 2 boys are in a troop. One is in a troop right now at 777 Out Central Union, and the little one's at Pac 1. So it's been a really wonderful experience. The camaraderie you feel like Cub Scouts with the parents is basically the parents going camping, and we are hanging out, and it's a great, great nuclear group to get attached to, and you see your kids grow. And then my older one, he's in a troop, and it really is just drop off and you leave. But I've just really seen him grow a lot. Like, he's done a 12-mile hike down the Pali, and then he had to pitch a tent in this almost gale force wind and stay over and by himself the first time, and his friend got scared, so he went home. So he was all by himself. And when I got the text from the mom, my husband and I are like, "Oh my God, should we go get him? Should we rescue him?"
Oh,
But
hold
no,
back.
exactly, we didn't. And you know what? He was all that more stronger for it. So it's been a terrific growing experience for him. So what we're doing here is development and marketing. We've actually introduced a theme, and so this year it's Get Grit.
Get Grit. Is that like
Yes.
John Wayne in True Grit?
Yeah.
And as I mentioned before the show began, is that like what happens when I go to the beach and I get grit in my jammies, what do you call it?
Your
Bathing suit.
Right.
Yes. So getting grit to figure out how you're going to get that grit out of your grit. So that's how it is. And so what we kind of wanted to, this is kind of like our way forward, like how you're saying, to kind of introduce scouting to people who are maybe not too familiar with
So
scouting.
what does it mean?
Resilience.
Okay.
Sticking
So
it
I can
out.
handle it. I can go out into the outback. I
Mm-hmm.
can survive. I can learn how to deal with, difficult situations, environmentally. And thus, I can learn how to deal with difficult situations in any context. So that's true grit.
We had a researcher here 2 weeks ago from Tufts University, a man named Brian Burkhard. And Brian and his team at Tufts, the youth development research group there, has been looking at what helps young people develop into adults of character, people who have positive attributes. And they looked at a lot of things, and what they came back with is they said, grit. Grit is the single most determining factor whether somebody will be successful in their life or not. It's not their GPA, it's not their ACT score, it's not where they went to school, it's do they have this sense of grit, ability to persevere over adversity, to find their way when they can't maybe find it maybe initially, they overcome things by trying and trying and doing it again. And they've studied it with Boy Scouts, they've studied it with 4-H, they've looked at West Point cadets, and every time they look at it, it's not who's strongest, it's not who's fastest, it's the person who's grittiest that succeeds.
It's hard to develop that. I mean, this is a kissing cousin of confidence.
It is. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
But it strikes me that in a world where a lot of parents just give everything to their kids, if you give everything to your kid, he's not going to have grit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the secret about developing grit?
In Boy Scouts, it's about having a safe environment, first and foremost. It's creating a place where they can do things and fail, quite frankly, and do it again and fail until they find out a way to do it. And starting at the youngest age group, if you think about the Pinewood Derby in Cub Scouts, which everybody knows about.
I don't.
You don't know about the Pinewood Derby? Let me tell you about that. So little wood cars made out of a little wood block. They put the little wheels on it, and they race it down a track. And
This must go back to the 30s.
It goes back a long ways. And for young people in Cub Scouts, it's one of the big events that takes place each year. It's actually happening right now all across America. Cub Scouts, ages 7 to 10, are working on their Pinewood Derby cars, ideally with their mom or their dad. And quite honestly, the moms and dads get more into it sometimes than the kids to make that perfect little car.
Yeah.
We try to teach them, no, let your son make his car.
Right.
And then they get to race it at one of their PAC meetings.
It must be an interesting tension, I mean, like, for example, in, baseball, with the kid program for the baseball.
Yeah.
Little
League.
Little
Yeah,
League.
yeah.
Yes, there's a number of them, Little League, say. You worry about the parents taking too much command of the kid and trying to make the kid into a competing machine and, sort of becoming, too involved without single. And so the organization has to say, wait, we do it over here.
Yeah.
You sit in the bleachers for a little bit. We do it over here.
Yeah.
Do you have the same kind of issue?
We do, and Kimi was talking about her son progressing from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts, and part of the experience for that is as they get older, they're going to get more and more freedom to try things on their own. In the Boy Scout age group, it's the textbook plan is that a Boy Scout program is boy-led. Older boys are leading the younger boys, and they're developing their own leadership skills. The younger kids are seeing the role models of the older boys, and through that, they're each learning how to become an independent adult and be successful on their own. And so,
I have recollections flooding through my brain, a million questions for you, but before we do that, we're going to take a break.
Great.
Okay, and when we come back, I'd like to finish about exactly what it is to be doing outside, including development and marketing and funding and communicating with the public and, doing brand. Because everybody has to do some brand.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Jay Fidell. Here's Jeff Sulzbach and Kimi Takazawa from the Boy Scouts of Hawaii. Huh? Is that the right name for it?
It's the Aloha Council of the Boy Scouts of America.
Write that down, okay? This is Community Matters because it does. We're taking a new look at the Boy Scouts, the true grit Boy Scouts, if you don't mind.
Aloha, Yappers, and a Happy New Year. I'm your host, King Zilly. From inner city out to the platform and now on the Yap Show. It's a new year, and most would say a new beginning. So this is a call to action. As we promote tech, energy, diversification, and globalism, with ThinkTech Hawaii, the Yap Show is all about advocacy for effective leadership, comprehensive youth policies, programs, and access to knowledge and information for upward social mobility, especially for the historically underprivileged youth. This means we'll be looking at young people making a difference in their community. Youth policies here in Hawaii, the country, and the world. We want to highlight youth programs that are meeting young people where they are, working together to accomplish a goal or tackle an issue while providing information and access to free educational content for anybody looking to learn on their own time, study for an exam, or simply refresh their memory. We do this by inviting everyday people like yourself state policymakers, youth advocacy groups, youth programs, professionals, and so forth. But most importantly, we'll be partnering up with my new organization, causeeffect.org. More information on Cause Effect, as this website is currently in development in hopes to feature courses, seminars, tutorials, and conducting surveys that will be featured on the show. As we leave behind 2014, I wish I could say we leave behind issues such as police brutality, youth violence, education, economic mobility, and so many other hot-button topics that made 2014 a difficult year. So what does it mean for the new year? What does it mean for youth policy? What does it mean for Hawaii as a whole? And most importantly, how does it affect you and your community? We want you to tune into the YAP Show at 3 p.m. Friday and find out. Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live and having a good time on Friday with the Boy Scouts. Jeff Sulzbach, the CEO of the Aloha Council, and Kimi Takazawa, Director of Development and Marketing, here on Community Matters because it does. And a new look at the Boy Scouts, the true grit, the grit Boy Scouts.
Right.
Okay, so back to organizational stuff just for a minute. You know, you're the, I don't want to say outward bound. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
But you're the outside committee. So what is it like, you know, in terms of the interface between the Boy Scouts as an organization here, the Boy Scouts as an organization on the mainland, you know, which you probably have some relationship to, and the Boy Scouts, you know, in terms of interfacing with the community here. Talk to us.
Yeah, so, you know, a lot of people know about the Boy Scouts, right? The Scouters and the kids and the parents, but I think what we can do better, and where we're trying to really launch this campaign with the whole Get Grit, and we're also thinking about doing maybe a Hawaiian-based one in the next couple of years, is to really get out into the community to let them know about the Boy Scouts. Because, you know, we've been around for, gosh, like...
I was going to say 100 years?
Over 100
Over
years.
100 years.
So what we would really like to do is, you know, it's like just like a fad. We've been around for 100 years, so we're taken kind of for granted. So now we just kind of recharge and let people know, hey, look at us again, a rebranding, like how you're saying, a new look at the Boy Scouts, and we have some really fun, fabulous, interesting type of things, just to show that we have really changed with the times. It's not like kind of like, you know, only the uniform wearing, kind of like kind of Boy Scouts out there.
That's not sustainable. You
Yes,
have to
exactly.
change,
It's like,
yeah.
so for example, we have some new merit badges, and it really shows how we changed with the times. We have animation as a merit badge now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's great.
Entrepreneurship, right, which is, I know, a hot topic with
I
you.
heard that in what Jeff was saying, but the good thing about entrepreneurship falls
Yes.
right into line. Yeah.
Exactly. And SUP, stand-up paddleboarding, is actually a merit badge. So, you know, it's just to show that, you know, the face of the Boy Scouts is changing. We're trying to make it more contemporary, you know, to attract the youth, because, you know, sports is definitely a competitor to us. But we're trying to reach out to them to see how they can incorporate it, sports and Boy Scouts.
So how
at the same
successful
time.
is it? Are your numbers going up? I don't know how you get funded, so tell us about that and tell us whether that's going up.
You know, we stayed steady over there, even though we had the 2008 crash. We've actually been really fortunate.
sure.
We have a really great support system, and many of the people on our board you would recognize are all downtown people.
I remember that Jeff Watanabe was very close to the Boy
Yeah,
Scouts. Is he still?
Yes, he is, and also Frank Tokioka as well.
Yeah,
Russ Murakami.
yeah. Well, you've had a really big backbone of business. Big backbone of business is onomatopoeia or alliteration or something. For a long time.
Yeah.
And Dan in Norway supported you big time. I mean, I went to a fundraiser once where he was there, and I saw that he was completely, totally committed.
Yeah, at one time he was honored as one of our distinguished
Yeah.
citizens
Yeah.
of the year. Each year we honor a member of the community as the Hawaii's distinguished citizen.
Big fundraiser.
And exactly, and that is actually our major fundraiser each year that we do. We raise funds in a lot of ways. So we have an annual campaign where we raise funds. We do a distinguished citizen dinner, a couple of golf tournaments, and then our scouts actually go out and sell both makahiki cards, which we're going to start doing here next month, and we also do popcorn sales in the fall.
Leave the cookies to the...
We'll let the Girl Scouts
Girl
sell the
Scouts.
cookies. They do a great job with it, and we don't want to move in on that turf.
So did Dan in Norway's death have an effect, a negative effect? I mean, he was, to me anyway, my way of looking at it, he was, you know, really associated with. I mean, it was a big connection between him and the Boy Scouts. Did his passing have any effect on you?
I think like it did for everybody in Hawaii.
Well, that's
You know,
true,
I think it
yeah.
just, you know, that when you have somebody who's squarely in your corner day in and day out, when that person's not there any longer, yeah, you really do feel that loss. So that, I think, is probably the biggest piece that I would say. You know, and yet we have a 60-member board, so we've got great people on our board.
60.
60 people. which are all community leaders and business people in the community. So we've got great people who step up, and I, you know, as sad as we are when somebody steps away, we've got great people who step forward right behind them. And that's really the scouting way. It's about building the next generation of leaders, having people step up to take charge at the right time.
It's fair to say that the Scouts are more popular, better connected, more part of the community in Hawaii than elsewhere. When I came to Hawaii, I was struck with how big a thing the Scouts were in terms of the perception of the community, as opposed to other places. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I'd say that we're incredibly blessed by the support of the community, by the leaders of the community. But what has struck me as a fairly new resident of Hawaii is that that's how we take care of all of our community assets and community organizations. There's a real, I think, community rally behind some of the key organizations like Boy Scouts in the community, and so we're fortunate to be part of that here.
Yeah. What about your relationship with the mainland Scouts? Do they support you, or do you support them? What do they provide for you?
There's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
We are really like a franchise of the National Boy Scouts of America, and so there's 285 Boy Scout councils around the country. We are one of them. They provide us a charter to deliver scouting in our territory, which includes most of Hawaii. We actually don't serve Maui County. There's a separate Boy Scout council there. We also serve the U.S. territories in the Pacific, Guam, American Samoa, and the Northern Mariana Islands.
Really?
And
That's a big connection.
Yeah, and so our deal is that we provide the support and service to scouting. The national office provides us the literature, the curriculum, the badges, the uniforming, that type of stuff.
Sure. Well, there has to be uniformity.
Right. Financially, we are completely self-sufficient. We don't receive support. This chapter here, the Aloha Council, receives no support from the national office. Membership fees that our young people pay, it costs $24 a year to be a scout. That membership fee goes to the National Boy Scouts of America to provide support for insurance, for the program development that they do there, that type of thing.
Sure, but they operate as an administrative arm,
Exactly.
rather than an operating arm.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you're going to be heavily involved in the fundraiser, the annual fundraiser. Can you tell us about it? Is it coming up soon? Is there any place that people can sign up and come down?
Well, the one that's right on the horizon, like how Jeff said, is the Makahiki. So that's our scout show. It's going to be May 9th at Aulani Beach Park.
Okay.
But as I'm sure people know, get ready, because in a month, these cute little Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts will be standing in front of the store selling the Makahiki tickets. So 100% of the revenue comes to Aloha Council and to the Scouts. And it's always, it's a great way for them to practice their salesmanship and entrepreneurial skills, and
Sure.
also, a great fundraiser for us. And the Makahiki is such a great day. So.
Well, again, adapting to the local, experience, and adapting to changing times, to technology, to the whole notion of collaboration and entrepreneurship. Got to do that.
Yeah, and we'll be having a 5K run called the Scout Strong.
This is part of the
5K run.
Makahiki.
Yep, so it'll be in the morning, like right before at like 7 o'clock, and then it will roll right into the Makahiki. And we were also speaking about the DCD, our Distinguished Citizens Dinner, which is held in July, mid-July. We haven't announced our Distinguished Citizen yet, but that's a great fundraiser for us, and it's a really great way for all the people in the community to come help support.
Where is it?
It's going to be at the Sheraton Hotel on July 22nd.
Okay.
So,
Write that down.
Right.
The one that I went to was really spectacular, and the whole community was there.
Yes.
Extraordinary number of
Exactly.
people. It was really one of the memorable such events I've seen.
So we also have two other really unique events that we hold. So one is called the Sportsman's Challenge. So what it is a day so companies have sponsorships. They sponsor a team. You actually come out to our camp at Camp Pupukea on the North Shore, and you actually get to shoot guns and ninja stars.
Well, you think about it. I mean, kids need to have that experience.
Oh, well, these are, you have to be 14 and older, so
fair
typically
enough.
they're
Yeah,
adults,
okay,
but
that's fair
you get to
enough.
shoot guns, black powder, ninja stars, hatchets, tomahawks, all these really wonderful, crazy things, yeah.
So your camp in Pupukea, this reminds me of 10 Mile River. This chapter, this council has a facility.
Yeah.
And it probably goes back many decades that you've had this.
We've owned the property, we've operated the property at Pupukea since the 1960s. It was formerly the Pupukea military camp. Prior to that time, actually going back to World War II time is when that property was in the military 1960s, Aloha Council took it over. We leased it from the state of Hawaii until the early 2000s, and then we purchased it from the state at that time.
That's a great history,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, 65 acres of
Wow.
property up there, up high in the mountain up there. Great views of the ocean from up top. In the camp, we have 9 campsites. There's a dining lodge, a swimming pool, program facilities, including this year, we're opening up a new high ropes course. And the high ropes course teaches young people about building their own self-confidence, about trusting their fellow scouts who are on the other end of the rope, making sure they don't fall.
This is important.
It is important,
Yes.
right? It's about communication as they go across the high wires and communicating to one another about how do you do it, where am I going next, do you have me, buddy, that kind of thing.
So do kids go and stay there for what, a week, a month? How does that work?
Depends on the age. So our Boy Scout summer camp program, it's a week-long summer camp, and we'll run 6 weeks of Boy Scout summer camp from mid-June all the way through the end of July. Cub Scouts do a 2-night overnighter, usually with a parent or a guardian. And then our scouts throughout the year use the camp for overnight weekend camping.
So you're always using it. If I were you, I would use it all the time.
It's used all the time. It's a real treasure, and you know the number of places to go camping in Hawaii is very limited. And we have this just wonderful opportunity to get young people outdoors and teach them about the environment, teach them about nature, about how to survive sometimes in adverse conditions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right on. That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
In the next third of our program, I want to
Okay.
talk about getting out in the outdoors and what that, how you do it, what it does for kids,
Great.
and how important it is in Hawaii, especially. Okay, that's Jeff Sulzbach and Kimi Takazawa from the Aloha Council of the Boy Scouts, taking a new look at the Boy Scouts and the grit. What do you call it? The grit of the Boy Scouts.
Get
Get
grit.
Get grit of the Boy Scouts. We'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right, and what's good, and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week, we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
Okay, we're back for the concluding segment of our show on the Boy Scouts. Get Grit Boy Scouts, a new look at the Boy Scouts with CEO Mike Sulzbach and Director of Development and Marketing Kimi Takazawa here on Community Matters. So I guess, what really fascinates me is this whole thing about getting outside. I mean, the kids are so busy these days, they got so many obligations in school. I don't know what it is, they don't get outside. And a lot of people in general don't get outside. So to me, it's really important for the whole Hawaii ethic, the experience, living here to get outside. And you guys offer that.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
And you teach kids how important it is. It gives them a training, a connection to the outside that nobody else does. And I think that's a wonderful thing all by itself. Anyway, so tell us, how it works. I mean, suppose I have a kid and he's 8 years old, and I want to inculcate him with the outside. I want to teach him what it means to go to the top of a mountain. I want to teach him what it means to sleep out and find water. I want to teach him what it means to cook out a little stove. Because if I don't, place him somewhere, it's unlikely you're going to do that. So you offer that, but what's the experience like? How do I do it? Who do I call? How does it work?
Call the Aloha Council.
Okay.
That's the best place to start, or go to our website, alohacouncilbsa.org, and we can help to connect you with a local Cub Scout pack or Boy Scout troop, depending on the age of the young person. That's where it really starts. In the Cub Scout program, we start kind of slow. We go to a day camp, maybe the first experience. We don't have them go to the top of the mountain the very first time. Have them do a day camp experience, maybe a one-night overnighter right after they begin. Do a few meals outdoors, simple things to, again, teach them how to do it, teach them how to do it right. We want to make sure the parents have a good experience as well.
They come along with the young kids.
We try, at the younger age, we try to get as many of the parents to come as possible.
But you also have your staff, your counselor type staff.
We have counselors, we have other volunteers who are involved who help to guide them along the way. It's really important that the parents feel like they're confident, and that we learn that oftentimes it's about teaching them first to have the confidence that when their young person goes out, that they're able to lead them along the way.
You wean them away after a while.
Yeah, the kids have generally no fear, I would say, of going out. It's the parents we have to kind of say, hey, it's going to be okay. You'll be fine. Don't worry. You talk about the kind of the rareness of getting young people outdoors, and there's actually a lot of research that's been done about how important it is to get people outdoors. There was a book written a few years ago called Last Child in the Woods. And it talks about how more and more people aren't going outdoors. Things we do from a recreational standpoint, more and more is inside. We do more and more organized activities that don't necessarily just have you going out and free playing, which is so important to a young person's mental development, teach them about creativity, problem solving. And then there's a kind of a more innate thing. It's psychological, about just connecting with nature and how that makes you feel. And when we go for a walk, you come back from the walk, and you just feel better. You feel relaxed.
Yeah.
You don't have stress.
Yeah,
Things
no
like
stress
that.
comes off you.
Yeah.
You have a new look at the world. You've been communing with nature. I mean, it's the best way to spend a day. Lovely, and there are not enough places.
Yeah.
I used to go, for example, at Aya Loop Trail.
Yeah.
And it's not like it was.
It's a favorite spot, by the way, for scouts to go camping still up in the
Aya
area.
Loop Trail.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great scouting
How
destination.
about neighbor island travel? I mean, there's so many lovely places on the neighbor islands. Do you organize trips to the neighbor islands?
We do
for
some of that.
scouting?
It's a real opportunity for us. We've got a great property over in Kauai, up on the mountains up there, up by the Waimea Canyon up there. We have Camp Allen Faya. Big Island, we have a camp property over there as well. And then our brother council over on Maui has a Boy Scout camp as well. So each of the major neighbor islands have camping facilities, and it's a great opportunity to get out and see new places and do new things.
So suppose you had a bunch of teenage kids, who were adventurous, and they came to you and they said, Kimi, Jeff, we want to go to Minnesota for a hike. I'm choosing that as the best place in the country.
Yep.
Okay. So could this be done?
Yes. Yeah, in fact, most summers we have scouts from Hawaii go to Minnesota to the Boundary Waters Canoe area.
No kidding.
And there's a national
I
high
was taking
adventure
a
base.
flyer on that question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was a great question. You set me up perfectly. There are 4 national high adventure bases. We talked earlier about the National Boy Scouts. Well, what do? One of the things that they do is they have these 4 national high adventure bases. One in New Mexico, one in Minnesota in the Boundary Waters Canoe area, one in the Florida Keys, called the Florida Sea Base, and one out in West Virginia. And each of those different bases provide young people a very different outdoor experience.
Well, that's great.
Unique, nothing like they would find probably where they come
So
from.
in round numbers, what does it cost to participate in the Boy Scouts? What does it cost to go on a trip locally? What does it cost to go on to go on one of these national trips?
Yeah, scouting's a great value. So to become a Boy Scout, it's $24. Most packs and troops charge dues, somewhere maybe in the range of $10 a month, depending on the level of activity. Going to summer camp in the summertime for a week of summer camp is $230 currently. It's our Boy Scout summer
Gee,
camp fee.
that's out of the 50s.
Yeah,
That's really,
Yeah.
that's what I paid in the 50s,
And then, the high adventure trips, they're going to get into the thousands when you start going to Minnesota, by the time you get airfare and things like that.
Yeah.
Probably upwards of $2,000 for that trip to all in.
One more question on the geography part. A lot of people, a lot of organizations try to establish some kind of connection with Asia.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you guys have either a coming or a going or an exchange. I wonder if there are scouts in it. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Are there scouts in Asia?
There are scouts in over 100 countries around the world. So the international scouting program is very strong. This coming summer, in July, in Japan, they'll have the World Jamboree. Scouts from all over the world will come together, including scouts from the United States and scouts from right here in Hawaii will go to Japan for about 10 days of international scouting together.
We didn't
Yeah.
rehearse this.
Yes.
No, I was going to say, great lead-in.
I'll add 2 more things to that. We have a group of scouts that they call it the Rainbow Exchange. They come from Okinawa every year and come over to Hawaii here for summer camp each year. And then we will send scouts over that direction as well, sometimes to different parts of the world.
Okay, we only have a few minutes left, and I want to ask you about your challenges. I know you've been through issues about girls and about gays. When did that start? How much disruption was it for the scouts, and how did it wind up?
You know, the lightning rod, I would say, goes back to around 99 or 2000, so it's been going on for a long time. The Boy Scouts were in a case where a leader who had been disbarred because he was a gay man back in New Jersey fought that to the Supreme Court. And the Boy Scouts won the case. The case ultimately came down to, can a private organization like the Boy Scouts choose who their leaders are? And the Supreme Court said, yes, you can choose who you want as your leaders. Over time, and again, that was getting to be almost 20 years ago
Things
now
change,
when that
yeah.
started. Right, things have changed. Today, our standard is that any young person can join Boy Scouts, and we don't have any question that says, what's your sexual orientation? We want Scouting to be open to all young people and to allow them to have that experience. We're still working through from the adult standpoint. The national policy still says that adults who are gay are not allowed to be Boy Scout leaders at this point in time. The interesting thing I share with people is that really is a local issue when you get down to who picks the leaders for Kimi's son's Boy Scout troop. Those are picked by the parents and by the sponsoring organization, which may be a school or maybe a church. They choose them. We don't choose
It's a
them.
good way to handle it.
Yeah.
Because after all, they're sort of proxy parents, and the parents should have some say in it.
They have all the say in that. So that's really where it comes down to, is a local group of parents saying, we really think that you would be the best person to be our son's leader. We have lots of policies in place to make sure that there's always at least 2 adults present for every scouting activity, that the adults are trained, they know the proper way to operate the program.
How about leaders? Do you have any trouble getting leaders? I mean, that's a volunteer job. You don't pay, right? And you go out into the community and ask for do outreach to find people who are interested in volunteering. How does that work, and what kind of response are you getting?
Yeah, it can be tough. We find that especially in areas that are more economically challenged, it becomes harder and harder because disposable time can sometimes be a major factor. Parents are working 2 or 3 jobs sometimes, and that's where most of our leaders come from, are the parents of the kids who are in the program.
Yeah.
In some of those areas, we've actually brought in leaders who are actually paid leaders. It's not our preferred method, but in areas where we just don't have any success at getting people to step up and be the leader, we'll actually pay somebody to do an after-school program. And we've had some real success. We call it Scout Reach. It's our outreach program for Scouts. And right now we have over 10 different programs going on, mostly on the Waianae side of the island, on the leeward coast out there.
So you try to help underprivileged kids?
Yeah, absolutely. You bet.
And all across all economic
You bet.
groups. Yeah, that's terrific.
Yeah.
You're performing a public service, I mean, for the benefit of the community in general.
Yeah, that's our mission, is to reach young people and help them to develop into young adults. So that's what we do, and it doesn't matter where they come from, what their socioeconomic background or education level is.
Oh, we have some pictures.
Yeah.
There's a flyer you have?
Actually, this was an ad that ran
ad?
last week Sunday, which was February 8th, Scout Sunday, just to let the public know more about us, our Get Grit, our outreach, to try to get more people interested in scouting and finding out what we do. So, we had that Brian Burkhardt who came down to speak about scouting, and he actually, have you heard of Angela Lee Duckworth? She did a TED Talk about resilience and grit.
Yeah.
So that's what he spoke about,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how we parlayed all this. And what it is that the positive youth development programs, such as scouting, 4-H, Girl Scouts, education like at a church, those are the best type of activities like after school that a child should actually be in, something that teaches values. And then also maybe some like physical activity like a sport. So kind of like those two, cherry picking like 2 types of programs for kids for after school activities are the best way to really shape and develop a young person.
We talk about kids not getting fully educated. We talk about, young adults not voting and older adults not voting either. We talk about building citizens,
Yeah.
It strikes me that in the landscape, especially in Hawaii, which we can all see firsthand, is that the Boy Scouts is giving the gifts of citizenship, is making people aware of their obligations to the community as much as any other organization I can think of. And so you do have a larger burden, and I wonder if you're getting appropriate support and response financially from the legislature and from the community in general, on a voluntary basis. Are you? Or is that a struggle?
Well, I think probably every nonprofit would say we struggle. And for us, we run on about a $3 million a year annual budget. We have 25 full-time staff, over 4,000 volunteers, which is the amazing part of it.
You do a lot for $3 million.
We do a lot for $3 million. We serve over 12,000 young people every year. And so we do an awful lot with that. We just asked the legislature to consider a grant and aid program to help us improve our camps. The 3 camps that we have in Hawaii have very old facilities, and they really need upgrades, especially in the area of infrastructure, toilets and showers, water systems, that type of thing. So
All you need is the materials. You can get the scouts to go out there.
Well, we need a little bit more than that, but so we've asked the legislature to consider in this current session a grant and aid that would help
That's
us
very
to
good. That's an
support that.
appropriate grant and aid. I
Yeah,
would say.
it would be.
Yeah.
All of our other support we get is all through individual contributions, either from individuals or companies. And you know, we do very well. We have great support, but we're always pushing it, I think, to the last minute.
Last question, really the close of it is, how do you see this going forward? You know, we talked about being nimble, being, you know, resilient, being creative, and following the changes in the society around us. How does it look for the Scouts going forward? Because that's an issue that's probably more intense as we go forward. There's more pressure to change, more things happening. How do you see it affecting the Scouts?
Yeah, we're going to see 2 things happening this year. Our Cub Scouting program is getting completely retooled. That's our youngest age group, whole new curriculum that will help, I think, respond to what parents and young people are saying they want and need today. So we're retooling our youngest age program. And at the older groups, our Exploring program, we're doing more outreach. We have an Auto Technology Explorer post at Honolulu Ford starting up here this winter. And that's one example of how we're trying to reach kids in a new way to teach them skills for life that will help them to succeed in the future.
Great. You can never take your hand off the stick because the world moves so fast now. So Kimi, you close and make sure you tell them how they can reach you and where exactly they can sign up and the website and the phone number and all that, okay? The camera, your camera will be that one.
Oh, so if we have any supporters, interested people who would like to join Scouting or find out now, we're located in Pali, above the Queen Emma Palace, 42 Pu'iwa Road. You know, our website is alohacouncilbsa.org, so please use that to contact us. And you can just call our main number, and we have wonderful people answering the phone who can answer any question that you may have, or you know, you could actually contact Jeff and I directly as well. So thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you,
I
Kimi.
really appreciate it.
Kimi Takazawa and Jeff Sulzbach. It's been
Yes.
great. It reminds me of my youth to talk to you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you. This has been very enjoyable.
Yeah, the same.
Thanks so much.
This is
Jay.
Community Matters, because they do. And we've taken a new look at the Boy Scouts, and we've seen the grit with Jeff and Kimi. Thank you so much. Aloha.
Aloha.
That's in Aloha Council.
Aloha, aloha.